Hello, I am Billy Bobsek, and I am joined by Frederick Dumont,
How you doing, everybody?
Tinkage,
What's up, everyone?
and we are reviewing Rooks Exodus #1, written by Geoff Johns and Jason Fabok. I don't even know how to say his last name.
Fabok sounds good.
I think it's
Sounds about right.
Fabok.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here we go. This is what it looks like. At least the fourth edition printing. Yeah, so there were so many editions that by the time that I got my hand on it, this was the fourth printing.
I have the third printing, which I think Frederick was with me when I got it.
It's not a competition, Billy Bob.
Was.
I don't even know which printing I have actually now that I look at
But
it.
but we're gonna keep this first part to being non-spoilery, so don't have to worry about that. We'll put up a little thing when we get into spoilers later. But Tinkage, why don't you start us off with your thoughts on this?
Sure, yeah. So Rook Exodus. This is my the first book I've read from the Ghost Machine line here. I guess I really loved the artwork. I mean, the artwork kind of speaks for itself, right? Like it definitely pops with the yellow, and all of the line work is incredible. I think throughout the book, the artwork is definitely a highlight for me. I thought the setting was pretty cool. It has like a lot of potential, but you have all the different themes of like environmentalism, obviously, uh, existentialism, survival. Almost like a post-apocalyptic feel. The character Rook is pretty cool. I feel like the writer, what was it, Geoff Johns? Yeah, Geoff Johns did a really good job, sort of giving his motivations. Um, but yeah, I really like the book. I think that there's sometimes throughout where it's not sure what kind of book it wants to be. There's certain things that are happening in the story that I'm not really sure where it's going with. Like the helmets are a really cool concept, right? But I don't want to give any spoilers, but I'm kind of wondering what the purpose is other than the cool factor. But overall, I really liked it. I thought the story was a good, solid introduction. But looking forward to some more, and hopefully, those questions will get answered that I have.
Yeah,
That.
it's kind of the warden, which is not really a spoiler. The wardens
Mhm.
are like they have these helmets that let them connect with the animals
Mhm.
and control them.
Yeah.
Some of it makes sense, some of them don't.
Yeah.
Like, what would be the point of controlling a bear or fucking wolves?
Besides big badass, right? But yeah,
Like, it's cool, but when you go, wait, why?
yeah. That's kind of how I felt about it. Like, I really, I think it's an awesome idea that's like halfway there. It always felt kind of like half baked. It just feels like that the concept is super cool. And sometimes when you have a cool concept, you just throw the realism out the window. I like to think of it as kind of like a gauge. Like the more real you go, the cool
Yeah,
factor kind of goes out a little more.
Yeah, half baked is just another word for medium rare. I think
Yeah.
it has great value, especially like the kid inside me kind of relates this to like Mighty Morphin Power
Hmm.
Rangers. You have all these heroes who have these strong animal themes with the helmet. So I
Hmm.
really like that a lot. You're right; it's probably needs a little bit more fleshing out,
Hmm.
but I see it as a great plus. Like it really stands out as something cool that you can build off of.
Yeah.
now once again, the art is great. I do think like the dude who did the coloring, which was
Brad Anderson.
yeah, Brad Anderson, did excellent on this book as well.
Hmm.
To
Hundred
make it,
percent. Hundred
yeah,
percent. The art is definitely the strongest point of this book. It's the selling point for me, and
Hmm.
I'm going to take the opposite stance as Tenkage because the story aspects is kind of what I dislike the most. I think the whole climate change theme is kind of worn out, and the planet that's kind of like has this engine that's broken down is also things that we've seen a lot of times. These abundance of tin can spaceships in the sky and all that.
Hmm.
Those are the things that kind of I'm not really too enthralled about. But the art is so freaking cool, and the character motivation, like being stuck somewhere that you feel your life is in danger, just wanting to move out somewhere else. I can really identify with the character motivation in there.
Yeah.
well, so on the I do like the concept of it's a post-apocalyptic on a different planet.
Hmm.
That's cool. You know.
Yeah,
I don't particularly like the kind of the novel narration that we have in this book from the main character, from Rook.
like the internal dialogue.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
fine with internal dialogue, but it gets to the point where it's describing stuff, which is what the art is supposed to do. Well,
Like
I'll
an
get
info
into
dump.
it more later. But,
Yeah.
you know,
Kind of an info dump right at the
it's
beginning
kind of
for sure.
a little bit weird, you know.
Yeah,
And I agree with Frederick on the climate change aspect to the story, which you get kind of in a flashback later on.
Funny enough, I actually agree with that part. The climate change thing is a bit played out. To the artwork, to the coloring, like you mentioned, Billy. I think what's great about the coloring in this book is that, in a lot of post-apocalyptic, you get those yellow and like brown hues, and in this you get like a lot of the a lot of orange, a lot of reds. So it makes it really feel alive, like you're actually there while all these bad things are happening, and it's not quite afterwards, if that makes sense.
It
Like,
also
yeah,
it also goes with the theme of the planet's dying. So
in the
most of
process.
the book set during the present time, besides like a couple of scenes, most of it's set in a constant sunset.
Yeah,
On the
yeah,
front.
exactly. It has like a dying Earth kind of vibe to it. I absolutely the environmentalism, climate change stuff. I completely agree. Like, I actually get a lot of vibes of kind of like the consequences of interplanetary like settling, like going to Mars. Kind of feels like a warning almost. Like the consequences of doing that, and the consequences of like corporate space travel. Like, I kind of feel like it's a little lectury on that almost.
Yeah, I don't want to condemn it so far
Yeah,
on that when we'll get later on, but like I want to see where this goes, because if it's going the way it's being set up here, I think it's just like, ugh. Like,
yeah, a little preachy.
I'll just quickly mention something about the colors as well, because the colors are really one of the best parts of the artwork of the book as well. A lot of times, what you see in the background, the line art is not left black; it's turned into colored line art, giving you that atmospheric perspective, which is another way of saying like things in the background kind of fade out a little bit more in terms of color, and it's so beautiful, man. It's hard to overplay the impact that the color and the art has. And even when you see the first character saying like, I am Rook, on what, page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah,
it's not an overly dynamic pose like you would see in some of the 90s image books. Like, it's not full on action, but that dude is standing strong, and he's feeling dynamic, and he's feeling imposing with just a slight, a slight stance adjustment. And the crows are no, I mean Rook, the Rook character on page what, I think this is page 6.
like, yeah,
I also got to give credit for character design. Like,
yeah.
Rook looks badass. Swine looks bad. Like, really good. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks
And,
tough as hell. Yeah,
What could have been a real weak point, which is drawing animals, because he's drawing all sorts of animals, birds, bears, swine, wolves, and everything, and they're all drawn perfectly.
Yeah.
So Jason Fabok, kudos to him. I think he sources a lot of references, or he's done his homework. I mean, we haven't seen any horses yet, so I'm not going to pronounce myself on those, but damn, man, every single animal looks realistic, and not in a boring way. It just looks well integrated with the characters in the background.
Listen, Frederick, we know you want Horseman to be in this. So.
Listen, there's hope for a crossover still, okay?
Yeah.
Image, they don't own any of the characters. There is a chance, Billy Bob.
That's true. It is true. Any final thoughts before we jump into full-on spoilers?
I think this series has a lot of potential. If it does go the route where it kind of just stays sort of preachy in the writing, that's not my favorite thing. But if the art keeps going this direction, I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, the art, like I said, it speaks for itself. It's really well done. The line work and like Frederick mentioned, the coloring is pretty incredible. The saturation on some of these pages is just awesome. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I look forward to checking out a few more of them and seeing where it goes. Yeah.
I will add one minor critique as well to the story aspect to it. I'm not a full-fledged writer yet, but I am learning the ropes. There's not a whole lot of characters. This is a desolate world, and you mainly see the main character walking around, and like one of the characters he comes across is well, I'm not going to say any spoilers, but there's not a whole lot of interaction with other characters in the book. So I'm wondering if that's going to be a weak point. So far, it doesn't seem that bad. Like there's no major issue with it, but I'm wondering if there's going to be a lack of character interaction because of the desolate setting.
I do think that we are going to get more. It's just this was kind of the introduction, trying to get you into the setting and the world and a situation.
Yep.
You know,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like some of it was a little obvious and heavy-handed at times. Specifically with Swine, like as soon as that character was introduced, I knew something was up, but no spoilers.
Yeah, we'll get into it later.
But yeah, no, the writing was, it's hard to make a perfect story, but it needs. I think I have questions. I'll just leave it that way.
I think, the story. I think right now, I mean, it is an introduction. It's the first issue, but I'm like, all right, you set the groundwork. Can you later down the road make this interesting, or is it going to go what I think you're setting up, which is going to be boring?
Yeah. If I were to give it like a letter, I'd say it's a hard B. Like there's things that could definitely be improved on as far as the story goes.
Yeah, I give it a B plus.
Yeah,
like I think the art does elevate this to like I'm still interested.
Yeah.
As an artist, I've purchased a lot of comic books just based on the art, so it's not a huge leap for me. But definitely, like the art is the strong point for sure.
Yeah, this is definitely an artist book, I would say.
Yep. I guess we're fixing to get into spoilers and going to go start off with the what we like segment. Now on to things that we like about this comic, And this will have spoilers in it, so fair warning again. But Frederick, why don't you start us off?
All right, there's a lot of things I like. I like the main character. I like that he's a farm boy, growing up on a farm. He's inheriting his father's farm there, and he's trying to maintain that. But the farm, we're not spoiling yet, right?
Oh no, full spoilers.
Oh, okay. So
let it rip, man.
I just like the fact that he's really based as fuck. Like he's got a farm. He's working the soil and earning a living, making food, which is the most base thing you can do, I think, in an economy. I've got some notes over here, like some of the sayings I found were really great, like their failure is my hope. This is on Exodus, which is the renamed planet that the corporation has set our main character on. And basically everyone's trying to get the fuck out of it. So basically the engine failed like a few years even before our main character drops there. And he's scavenging the failed attempts of other people trying to get off the planet and using the same parts. And he's going to have his own attempt to try to get off world, at least in the character's intent that we're reading in the first one. I think that's really freaking awesome. There are some amazing characters, amazing beasts, because we're fighting with animals a lot. The page turn giant bear reveal is one of the highlights of this book.
Hell yeah.
Huge amalgam, huge troop of bears. Bears don't usually fight together like this, but they're coordinated because of the masks. It's so freaking awesome seeing our guys, especially our main guy with birds. Like he only has like crows and ravens and rooks on his side. How's he going to fight bears?
Get that eye.
Clawing their eyes out.
That part. Yeah. Clawing the eye out. It's great.
So I love that shit. I love the fact that, technology's breaking down. That's very believable. I think that's That makes a lot of sense. He's got different views on animals than Swine. So Swine is his buddy that can manipulate pigs, mostly feral pigs.
Warthogs.
And warthogs. It's very interesting because they have different views on it, because Rook is kind of like a detached scientific view of the animals. It's like, no, we've got this, master relationship to control them, but as soon as the mask is down, they have no relationship to you and all that. And Swine is like, no, I love these pigs. They're great. They're my friends. And
So Frederick, also on top of that, I don't know if it was intentional, but it kind of makes sense why he doesn't like crows anyways, since he was a farmer on Earth.
Yeah.
That's a good
And he
point.
had to scare them away, and now he's constantly connected to these things.
Yeah. See, that's a very good point. That's excellent writing, putting it into his backstory, whereas the crows were actually a big problem for him as a farm boy, and now he basically got the default helmet, because when he's on the spaceship, or is it before he takes the spaceship, he sees this training video of Exodus. And they're giving a demo of the helmets that can control animals, and the default one they're showing is the crows, the crows, ravens, and rooks there.
Yeah, to pull it back just a little bit, I do like the kind of subtle with the corporation. So before, he worked on his father's farm and stuff, and then a fire started, and then it has him talking to I'm assuming it's a lawyer or someone for the corporation, this Better World Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
That's just basically like, oh yeah, we'll keep quiet if if we don't say that your father started it. He knows his father didn't start it, and sell the land for a spaceport to be put there.
Yeah, I definitely get some conspiracy vibes with that part.
Yeah, and I really like that part, and that's what leads to him basically having to sell off his stuff and then signing up for the Better Worlds to go to this Rook, the Exodus planet.
Yeah,
and that's where you get the basically kind of it's I think a well done info dump pages in this backstory to be like, all right, here you go. All the planets, these corporations, there you go. And the wardens with the helmets. And how the wardens... So people bought the tickets there, and then they got basically the people that are going to be working the shitty jobs, which are the wardens. That's what it seems like.
And all these animals are imported from Earth. I don't think this is in the story. This is something that I got from reading the character bio at the back of the book. But I think it was in Swine's character bio in Ghost Machine, actually. But they do mention, that, because I was wondering, okay, where do these animals come from? Is it the same, a collection of animals as we find on Earth, out there in the Keppel system on Exodus? But no, they're actually all imported from Earth.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense, because this idea is this planet is supposed to be absolutely dog shit. It's just not a good planet. And they just terraformed it, make it Earth. So then they're like, all right, throw a bunch of animals and stuff there.
Yeah. And there's an interesting twist is all the animals seem to be they're outgrowing the size they had on Earth. So they're growing more massive, but the humans aren't growing, strangely enough. So the animals tend to become megalithic in size.
Yeah, I do hope that's a payoff or something. I do hope we actually find out a reason, and I hope it's not just evolution or some stupid shit. I do hope it's
gravity.
The corporation was experimenting on animals or something. I don't know.
I thought you were going to go somewhere different, because I actually don't care what the explanation is. I just want to see them grow to giant size. I want to see fucking huge animals that they got to fight in megalithic size.
Yeah, but you're still going to get that even if we get an explanation.
That's the thing about comics, though. It's like I was saying, it's that gauge of realistic and cool. The cool factor, the more you dial it up, the more the realism goes down. That's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
And when comics, it's like, I just want to see the giant bear.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you have to have some realism just to ground the story at the beginning, or through it out, bring you back to reality. But if you don't go fantastic, why are you making a comic book?
Yep, exactly. Completely agree.
And of course, I know we mentioned the art, but I just got to bring it up again. It's not that shitty glossy, like plasticky coloring.
Yeah.
Actually good.
Yeah, and but I still found a couple of things I could point out that bugged me in the art in a couple of places. And I gotta preface this saying, like, I think this is one of the best artists out there making comics in the mainstream at the moment. So
I'd agree with that.
really admire the art a whole lot, but that doesn't mean you can't point out some things. A lot of times, especially the crows and the ravens in the background, a lack of depth. They're all.
Frederick, hold up. We'll save that for the bad segment.
Oh, okay,
Getting
gotcha. Okay,
Dotty.
gotcha.
We're in the good part of the good, bad, and the ugly. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the things that we like, you know.
Gotcha.
I also like that they, I guess, they, going off of Tinkage's The Rule of Cool, they're also driving vehicles that are specifically designed for them. So, like, Swine's driving this big giant truck with Tusk on it and shit.
Yeah.
Dude,
Where can I get one of those?
They all look like toys we could buy. Like, I think that these guys did a really smart thing packaging this story and putting it all together. I mean, despite the few flaws we think, like, none of them are major.
No.
And the cool factor is through the roof. I could still criticize a couple of things, but that's going to be for the next section. Oh, dude, this fucking truck is amazing.
You know what it reminds me of is Chris Nolan's Batman. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
The first Batman, was it Batman Begins, right? I think.
it's
No,
got
Batman
kind of
Begins
that,
is that.
Batmobile. The Bat Tank.
Yeah. I can't remember which one it's in. But that's what it
It's
reminds me of.
in...
Rising?
No, it would be Dark Knight.
Yeah, The Dark Knight. Okay. Yeah, jeez. I dropped that one.
Where is it in Batman Begins? I don't remember that vehicle being in.
Yeah, probably not. It's been a little while for me since I've seen those. I'll have to watch them again.
This is an easy thing to overlook, but the lettering is quite good. Like especially in the sound effects area, like when he's going through all the rooms, like all the different apartments and spraying them off, like the FSSS sounds, like the sounds are freaking well drawn, well illustrated. So lettering is very good.
Yeah, who's the letterer? Rob Lay. It looks like Rob Lay.
Yeah, that's,
let me check. Letterist, it's Rob Lay.
Nice.
yeah. So job well done.
Yeah, I like how they're all stacked on top of each other and at different angles when he's spraying too.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he's spraying diagonal, like the letters go diagonal. When he's going up, it's going vertical. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, seems that like they got a great team working on this.
Alrighty. Any last things y'all want to say on things you'll like?
Yeah. Actually, I just got a couple notes here I can go through. I really enjoyed. We talked about internal dialogue, and internal dialogue. It's one of those things for me where less is more, you know. But if you're going to do a lot of internal dialogue, make it represented in the images that you're seeing as well. And I actually think they did a good job of that at the very beginning, when you see the ship try to take off, go into space, and then as he's discussing sort of the world and how everyone's trying to escape, you see it explode and then crash back down, and that drives right into the character's motivations of getting parts so that he can escape. And I thought that was just the intro was really good. I thought the intro was probably the strongest part of the writing.
I agree with that. I think when we get into the bad segment, I'll pull up exactly the moments I really didn't like. But I agree with the opening on that.
I agree with Frederick. Obviously, we haven't touched on how great the artwork is, right? But I think the art is fantastic. The character introduction page where he's standing there in that power stance with the crows kind of flying. I really love the composition. I got some I Am Groot vibes from that, which that's fine with me. Like, hey man, if you're gonna try to sell your book, tap into that audience a little bit. I think it's kind of cool. Really great composition there. The giant bear scene, I really loved the a lot of times with like splash pages, it feels like you can kind of anticipate it. That one came out of nowhere, and I really liked that.
Yep.
And it was when he was talking about the consequences of the neural link, and he says everything on Exodus is. They said everything wasn't dangerous here. So to me, that implies, there is something that's going to come of the connection to the animals.
Yep.
There's going to be a consequence or something.
It's not a one-way connection. Like, he can control the crows, but the crow's fear can blow back into his mind as well. So he has the option to turn off the mask. So basically turn off the connection. But the animals' fears or their strong instincts, such as feeding, because he lets them feed on one of the cadavers. Well,
right.
So that's got to be troubling if you're connected to the beasts.
Well, hold on. No. He did not let them eat the dude from the opening who died.
Not the guy, not the weatherman. No, the fish. I think though.
Oh,
right?
yeah, the fish. I thought he was. Sorry, Frederick. I thought you were mentioning the dude at the beginning, because actually he's not.
I was actually talking about the guy, but that doesn't mean I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I believed he.
No, he didn't. He specifically commanded them to not eat him, and he buried the dude.
But to Frederick's point, they were probably wanting to eat him.
Oh no, they were.
That's actually the underlying point I was making, is that it's their hunger and their instincts can meld over his
blur the lines.
Mind. Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you guys ever read the Animorph books growing up or not, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. Whenever they would turn into animals, they would get a lot of the instincts, and it would drive them to. Sometimes, I think they turn into an ant at one point, and they almost don't change back because they're the queen, speaking in their head, just drives them totally crazy. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of like that, and I dig that because, like I said, I read them as a kid. So
and it goes. I think it's like archetypes. All cultures, I think, have animal men and mixtures of both. So I think it speaks to every culture in different ways.
Yeah, definitely. And so, I mean, those are some of the highlights of the writing for me. Like, I'm looking through my notes here. I really liked the panel transitions. I thought were actually really strong. We talked about panels a little bit earlier. I feel like a lot of the smaller, nine panel pages were they had good intent. I mean, you're seeing him get out of his vehicle, work on the rocket, eat. He's crossing off the doors, which is a good passage of time. It shows you the door numbers, and you can see them going up as he's spraying them out. So it shows you the time that's gone by.
Great part of the art is the architecture. So he's exploring abandoned cities, and the architecture is absolutely beautiful. Every building is different. Mm-hmm. Everything feels like it's in place. Even the half demolished ones kind of lay there, anticipating of the gravity pulling them down and continuing their crash.
Yeah.
But everything looks perfectly.
No wonky perspectives or anything. Everything looks very real. Yeah.
And I think every aerial shot has the ravens in it as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Shit ton of them.
It makes sense. It's the title of the book as well. Makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, you get the when he's got the flashback here, you get the family connection and memories with the ravens and the crows, and maybe I'm kind of wondering, and some of the foreshadowing I think is one of the stronger parts of the book, even though sometimes it's a little obvious. Like when he's looking at his farm as a little kid, I'm starting to wonder if, back to what it was saying about the neural link and stuff, maybe if there's a strong memory, with the user, maybe that kind of, intensifies the bond or something. I don't know, but it's kind of cool thing to think about. I'm interested to see where they go with that in the other books. So I like that.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be tied with the Wolf Lady, because apparently she's one of the creators of these helmets.
So we get some answers there, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think those are, and then at the end, my absolute favorite spread in this book is the very end with the bears and swine, that 2-page splash with the panels at the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All those bears.
Yeah.
Fighting the warthogs, man. It's
and
so
each
cool.
warthog is kind of a different hue of color.
Yeah.
Very subtly. It's so good, man. It looks great.
The colors make the world feel like it's on fire. You know, like you watch, like I was saying earlier, a lot of post-apocalyptic can be like a lot of yellows and green and brown, and everything's kind of just dead and desolate. This is like, it's present. It's not really post-apocalyptic as much as you're living in the apocalypse. You know, you're living as it's failing. It's kind of the vibes I get. You know, like it's continuing to fail. So,
and
yeah,
it feels very much alive. Like the camera points of view are always clear and interesting, very cinematic, and everything looks dynamic despite it not being 90s dynamic. Like it's not, the characters aren't jumping out of the panels or anything, or the pages, but they're always in motion. They always feel like they're, you know, very well anchored into the world.
Yeah, and then the last bit I'll say is we were just touching on the colors there again, but the color saturation when he goes into the main city, I forget what it's called here, New Mason, I think. There's this 2-page splash where he's driving in, and it says today it's 1, and it's just you have the city kind of glowing in the background because the sun's like I think it's rising, or maybe it's setting. Yeah, it looks like it's setting, and it's just awesome because back to what you were saying, Billy. Like sometimes you don't want to use the words, you want to use the images to kind of portray what is being said. And for me, it's like that's the only home he has, and you got the sun kind of shining down on it as it's clearly desolate and like a shadow of what it was supposed to be. You know. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, like I said, sometimes the internal dialogue is done well. Like I think these scenes is done well.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of just the character's own thoughts and on the situation. When we get into the bad segment here in a bit, I'll point out like the
for sure
specific ones that I'm like a bit redundant when they were being said.
And just the last thing I'll say is the quality of the book. Like the paper, the cover. I think I have to find out which edition I have here. It might even be first. I don't know, first or second.
I think they're all the same. Even Ghost Machine has a cardstock cover and then good weight for the pages. I don't know exact weight for it, but it looks no issues on that end for sure.
This book for $3.90 is $3.99. I think is a deal.
It's
for this quality of a book. It's really nice.
It's such a good price. You don't get artwork like this, and this is not a 24-page book. Like this goes into the 30s, I believe, right?
I think it's a 48 something on the first issue.
Yeah, DC could easily charge you $5.99, $7.99 US for a book like this.
Yeah.
Well, is that everything, or any last words? And then we're going to move on to.
I had a lot of notes. Sorry about that.
I don't know if we highlighted this enough, but the mask designs really the strong suit. They're not simple designs like we're used to with Spider-Man and Batman and all that jazz. They're very technical, but they still stand out. They relate to the animal, and they look very realistic on the characters.
That's why I was saying the character design is like really well done in this book.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Rook without the helmet, I feel like is a little like it looks fine, but he's definitely got the generic kind of thing going on. But that happens a lot because I mean, we're reading the book for the cool helmet, right? So, and you you guys already know this, but I'm a Tokusatsu fan. I like Kamen Rider and Sentai and Power Rangers stuff like that, and I think the helmet is right up my alley. It's pretty badass.
Like all of them, like because we even get in the I think back of the book like a bunch of the other helmet designs for the other wardens. We'll see.
Yeah, it's tough to make a good helmet.
In Ghost Machine, you get the bio for Swine as well as for the Wolf Lady, and the Wolf Lady looks very interesting. I have a few critiques about her being like the brains of the technology, but we'll get to that.
Well.
That's the women section.
This is good for our good section. Now on to the sadly the stuff we didn't like.
The fun part.
Alrighty, now on to the bad. I'm gonna start this off with the paneling. Now, it's not completely atrocious, and there is good paneling in here. However, I do not like the 9 boxes, just square, done constantly throughout this book. Gets a little annoying, and a little bit could have spiced it up a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I think that with all the compliments we've been giving the art, I do think that with the 9 panels, it feels a little claustrophobic. You know, we have with all the great artwork, it is cool to see those panel breaks and kind of, you know, change things up. Even the pages where the panels are broken up, they're either rectangular or we might have a you know, like a slight splash image in there. Like you have the warthogs breaking through the panels, sort of the middle of the book here, when he first meets Swine. But yeah, I agree.
I definitely agree with Billy Bob on this one. I'm looking through all of the pages, and it feels like the artist is using the default marks on the paper just to get the most traditional kind of layout, panel layout. That being said, I didn't notice while I was reading. This is something that I'm noticing. I'm confirming upon you're mentioning it, Billy Bob, because the drawing inside is so good that I completely forgot about the setup. And just a quick mention, he does break that stagnant feel of the paneling, but only in the last 4 pages with the warthog fight.
Yes. It's something that I noticed in the Ghost Machine segment with Rooks Exodus, if you remember this way back, with kind of the paneling. It's not horrible paneling, but it's just
vanilla. It's kind of vanilla, yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that I did not like, we touched on it earlier. Yeah, the opening is good with its inner dialogue. However, once we get to the part where he's trying to give the pain medication to the dude's rocket ship who exploded, it has parts where he's narrating what he's doing in the scene. So one thing, he's like, metal sticks out of his abdomen like a pair of scissors cutting through wrapping paper. We do get that, and I do not like that. That's something more of what you're going to read a novel for, not a comic. Comic is the art is showing us.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. I did feel like that was a little janky because I can see in the image what's happening. It just goes back to the show don't tell kind of rule. Right. So if you're doing the diary entry sort of internal dialogue, I suppose that is what he's going for here. But the characters there can clearly see what's happening. We don't need to be told as the viewer, because we can also see what's happening. So I do agree with that.
Right, and that's some things I noticed. It's not all the internal dialogue. There is good ones, like I said. It's just some parts where it's a novel narration. Where I'm like, this is a comic book. I the art. Don't need it. Yeah, I don't like the climate change aspect. So the whole point is, this was in the flashback. We get an entire scene where he comes in. He's like, he sees a bunch of ships in the air when he's a kid. And he runs into his dad and say, and his dad's watching the TV, and it's like, every natural disaster that's happening right now on the TV.
TV's still working though.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, I know where you're going with this, you know. And then it goes into...
That's the problem. We know exactly where they're going way too well. It's the old tired trope that we hear all the time.
Yeah.
Now it did lead into a good exposition part with basically establishing the company, the Better Worlds company. But the whole, this natural disaster. This wildfire was worse than the one in 2003. You know?
Yeah.
I got to mention a couple of my pet peeves, because they're right smack in the middle of what you're describing here. The sky full of ships that we see is reminiscent of Rise of Skywalker. It's like copy-paste ships, and I know that Jason Fabok did not literally copy-paste the ships, but just an abundance of ships does not have the effect, I think, that the writers want us to have. It seems like there's no progression of the threat. it just feels like a bunch of ships in the sky. I'm not getting
Also,
that effect there.
It's a shame because that perspective was so cool too, and
Mhm.
then it kind of had the Mu 3D assets kind of thing going on there. But
Yeah.
yeah,
copy
there's
paste.
like a couple that have like a slight like there's one that has a slight variation, but they're pretty much the exact same ships.
Which
Yeah.
is a shame because you can tell he drew them
He did
all
draw them.
separately.
Mhm.
And so if you're drawing and it looks like you're copy pasting, there's a different type of problem.
Yep.
There's also the kind of corporate structure, the whole fact that it's the corporations that are kind of managing the whole show. It's also a kind of tired trope that we've seen since Alien.
Yeah, corporate boogeyman. Yeah.
So, you can have it, of course, but it'd be fun to have a little spin or a little original twist on it that makes it feel a little bit unique. It just kind of feels like drag and drop story aspect in there.
Yeah, totally
and then
agree.
you had the scene where he's getting on the ship and then leaving. And they actually did not like this drawing. It was the Earth or whatever with the scrap all around it when he's leaving.
Yeah.
Also, if the moon is that close to Earth, we're fucked. Like, bad news.
I think we could have done without the travel scenes completely.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think we could have skipped those pages. So yeah, I felt like definitely some issues with the themes in this book as far as the climate change and corporations bad kind of message. I felt like that was a little timely with everything like Elon Musk is doing and rockets to Mars and stuff.
Yeah.
This feels like a direct commentary on consequences of, like I said earlier, of corporations kind of having being more efficient with space travel and interplanetary like settling. It feels like it's sort of pointing that out to us, and it's like, well, I feel like Exodus is Mars, like it's supposed to basically be Mars, and I don't know. I felt like it was a little vanilla. Like you could have had some variation there. We could have had something where something new kind of added in there, because we've seen the corporate greed result in catastrophe before. I think when you're talking about settling a whole planet like this, that it could have you could have done some pretty cool things.
Terraforming.
Yeah, terraforming. You could have done some really cool things. I do like the idea of the engine kind of failing. I'd like to hear more about how that happened. I know that these wardens some people have gotten in control of the warden technology that are bad guys. What are their motivations and all that. I think we'll get more. But if this planet is reverting, and it's essentially because it's not dying, it's just reverting back to the climate that it was before. What do they have to gain by ruling over ashes? So those motivations aren't really clear yet, and I wish I could have. I wish they would have given us just a little bit more.
Also, why would you name your planet Exodus?
Yeah. It's pretty fitting, right?
I like what you're saying.
I think the Geoff Johns was like, I want the story about trying to get off this planet, and we're gonna name the planet Exodus, and it's like, all right, but think of it from like a realistic perspective of a corporation being like, oh no, this is our great world. Its name is Exodus, guys.
Well, it's the Exodus from Earth that is failing. I think that's what they're selling. They're selling Exodus to people back on Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it would be like the Exodus program, not the planet you're going to is called Exodus, which is get the fuck out of this planet.
Yeah, it should be called like Wonderful
Paradise.
Yeah.
Something, I don't know.
Also, why were all the
Utopia.
employees left behind? Like, did they not have enough spacecraft or something?
So they explain this, which is when the engine started failing, the citizens had to rebuy tickets to get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
The people who didn't have the money, which is like the wardens, because it was like a warden program. Not everyone's a warden, by the way. It's only like specific people.
Certain people.
With their,
Okay, when you mention tickets, it reminds me of another one of my pet peeves with this. The technology is like 1970s in some places. Like when what's his name, the guy who dies from the crash, hands him paper documents that are 1970s style envelope with a string around it. It's 2148 past, guys. Are we still carrying those vanilla envelopes with the strings?
Yeah, it should be at least a USB, which at that point is going to be way, way, way out of the technological.
It could have been an
Listen,
iPad.
they made helmets to control fucking bears, guys.
Yeah.
The priorities wasn't
The giant
stretching.
bear. Okay.
And it's the same, and it goes back to what you were saying about the dad watching all the catastrophes on the TV. It's like, it's dad in the 1960s setting,
Yeah.
you know, sitting back on his lazy boy and watching the telly.
It feels like Superman, like Superman's dad in Kentucky or something.
Yeah, they don't have. He doesn't have a computer set up. He's not watching it on an iPad. It's not a screen. It's that old classical TV from the 1990s. It could be, or 80s or whatever.
That's an excellent point, because when you go back to when he's going through each of the apartments and spraying the doors of the ones he's been to, they've got these fancy key card readers and all this technology that's different, than what the weatherman was handing him. With the
Also,
document.
instead of working on his farm, he just sits in his house reading, here's every major disaster right now going on.
Yeah, he's kind of a loser, to be honest. Like, I get he's there to fulfill a role, but he's a bit on the, hey, I'm seeing something on TV and getting instantly depressed, and maybe I'm setting fire to my farm or not,
Yeah.
Well, I think it's heavily hinted that he didn't burn down.
No, I agree, but you could tell that psychologically, you don't know where he is at exactly, because it seems to be taking a lot of that news to heart and just have a defeatist attitude, wouldn't you say?
Oh,
Well, that's a really good point, actually, because if you look at when he's watching TV, this is supposed to be, 100 years in the future? What generation, 100 years in the future, is going to sit and watch the news? Seriously, that's something that kind of already is starting to dissipate.
Listen,
it's changing.
it should have been a YouTube video.
Yeah.
No.
On his phone
It
or
should have been a
something, right?
YouTube video, like a YouTube video of like a corporate, because that would make more sense if it was like a corporate like YouTube channel. He's like trying to fearmonger to get people to go or something.
Sure. Yeah.
That's why you're like, here's every disaster that's ever happened right now.
The
Now-
Alex
now-
Jones of his day.
Right. Now, I get that they live on a farm, and I come from
Illinois.
I have family that were farmers, so they have the old TVs and stuff still. I can understand that kind of generational habit. It
Yep.
just seemed a little bit that took me out of the story just a little bit. I know it seems like a nitpick, but that, and then the fire, that Frederick and I were talking a little bit about the foreshadowing, how it's sort of obvious sometimes, and I feel like the fire is definitely a conspiracy, and they do hint at that. But what does Better World have to gain by sending all these people to Exodus? Are they trying to take over Earth by sending people to Exodus? Nobody's left on Earth, or what?
But here's the thing with that. This is what, unless they pay it off and actually give something interesting, the whole idea that they send it, the planet failed, then unless they let everyone go back to Earth, this would be this would topple the company.
Yeah.
Unless, I guess, the reveal later on that would be that Earth is gone or something. I don't know.
Imagine if you were a corrupt businessman with lots of money and influence, and you could get everyone to go to Mars, right? Because you've scared them because of all this climate stuff, and then they all go to Mars, but the Earth's actually just fine.
Yeah,
So
that's
then
when
they
you
own
buy
everything.
all the land. Exactly.
Yeah, you buy all the land, pennies on the dollar, and then everyone's stuck on Exodus or Mars in this reality.
It's already
Because
happened.
the idea was the corporation told them that they were gonna come back for the ones who couldn't afford tickets, and I guess just didn't.
And that's what made me wonder, because they're not coming back for these employees, but did all the other people actually get back to Earth? Are they even back? I guess that's the question.
That could be a fair thing, and that could be a cool twist that the corporation just went, this would be a nightmare, this will tank our company, so we just exploded the spaceship.
Yeah, or an even bigger conspiracy where it is about buying the Earth effectively, swindling the entire Earth population. So I don't know. See,
I'd
there's
be-
there's
I,
there's so
I
many
would
cool
be
things they could
pleasantly
do.
surprised if that was the way they
Yeah,
went,
there's so many cool things they could do, and so the questions aren't all bad, but there are some. I definitely feel like there's some plot holes here, and I'm wondering what direction we're going in. And in a story, to me, sometimes you want that, but most of the time you want to have some kind of obvious linear direction in the storytelling. You know?
I'm also curious because I I don't know if it was in Rooks Exodus 1 or it was Ghost Machine, Frederick, but I think we're given like this planet's only gonna last like a month or two left.
Yeah.
So I'm like, either we're gonna get the fuck off this planet and the story's gonna go somewhere, or I don't know. Like, it's such a short time span, like time
Yeah.
period we're working with as well.
Yeah. Back
And
to the
there's-
coloring.
There's no visual cue to support this 2-month timeline either. Like everything looks fine when you look at the background. Like
Yeah.
there's trees, there's nature. They say there's synthetic water. What the hell is synthetic water?
It's
can-
water, but synthetic.
Yeah, we made it in a lab.
But we
we
still
just-
keep paper documents. Yeah.
We took one H and two O's and bloop, there we go.
So, also one other decision that, why would you kill the swine like off?
Oh, yes.
Like we didn't even like
This is a
this.
pet peeve
This
of
is something
mine.
I would think that would happen in like issue 3 or 4, or something.
So the moment they introduced him, I knew he was going to die. Like that is just the foreshadowing is heavy-handed in this book. Like it does its job, right? Of kind of telling you what's going to happen later. But that as soon as he showed up, I was like, this character doesn't seem to have a lot going on, which to me tells me they're going to kill him. I actually thought he was going to get eaten by his own boars because they were talking about how
Oh man,
they were talking about how the Neurolinks were failing, and I was like, oh, I bet it's gonna fail. And
that would have been so
destroyed.
hardcore. Man.
Yeah, man. And I was like, oh, the bear. And I'll admit, like, even though the bears showed up at the end, I was like, oh, I was kind of thinking the other direction. So, but yeah, I knew that guy was toast as soon as they introduced him. And
I mean, I
for me,
knew
that's
that he
a
was
pet peeve.
probably like I knew he was
Yeah.
probably gonna die, but I was thinking like maybe we'll get like some attachment built for him before
Yeah.
it happens, not just
Yeah.
if you read Ghost Machine, he has like an interaction and talks with Brooke.
Yeah,
And
and the
then
guy's
this
a
one is
freaking
like-
tank, man. I mean, you look at him; he's a beast. You know, Swine. His character design, he's really tough guy, and I was like, I don't know about
Oh,
this.
That's another criticism. I actually do not think the art conveyed him getting his spine broken.
Yeah, I
Like
didn't
he
actually
just
look at
gets slapped by the bear's paw. It's not like the bear stomp and crushed on him.
that. Well,
Right.
dude, I mean, even normal sized bears are capable of some pretty crazy stuff. So
Yeah, but,
But it's not well impacted visually.
yeah,
It's
just
not
kind of buried under
There's
it.
no like big impact panel where you could clearly see that happening. It's kind of a small detail on the page.
like, you know what would improve this if the bear said, "Keep my my wife out of your motherfucking mouth," and then slap him. You know?
And then said, "Welcome to Earth." Yeah, that would have been great.
Improvement, yes.
That would have been great.
But
Yeah,
Swine
'cause-
looked badass. I mean, he was pretty cool looking. I thought.
Oh, never mind. It does have a stomp.
Yeah,
I don't know if I can remember it as a swipe then.
yeah, he pretty much just pats him down into the dirt.
Yeah, I
mashes
still
him right
don't
in
think
there.
I still don't think it has enough.
No, it's not very strong impact on the story.
It's also a
on the
really
page. I
tiny
mean,
panel.
Yeah,
yep, exactly. It should have been featured a little bit more visually.
but I think with everything that's going on in comics today, I think this is a pretty good book.
Yep.
Overall.
Especially in the mainstream.
Yeah.
I-
Oh, absolutely.
If you know of something that's as good or better, let me know because I'm in the market for good art.
Yeah.
Is there
Any
other things you
Bad
didn't
stuff?
like? Before we,
I've got my list here.
Yeah, go for it, Frederick.
Get it, Frederick. Do it now.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going through them. Mentioned pretty much everything. The tech going offline, everything is dying. Those are things I did like. Yeah, okay. So this is one thing I started saying, and you were like, "Oh, keep this for the things you don't like section."
Mhm.
The crows in the background most of the time are very flat, and they're all like the same size exactly on the same layer. There's none that are closer and none that are further. It's like every time he draws, not every time, he's got a couple of shots that are have cool perspective in it, but so many times that I just see just like a cloud of crows and they're all exactly flat on the same layer. There's none closer, none further away. That's just a minor pet peeve as an artist. Yeah, I mentioned the fact that the engine is going offline. Okay, what is the engine? Where is it? How does it function? It would have been nice to have a little bit more of detail than just the fact that it's a quote-unquote engine. What is it, a terraforming engine? How does it work? Is it kind of Star Trek?
It's definitely a terraforming one, because throughout the book is the since it's failing, the water's starting to fucking like disappear and all this other stuff.
That goes back to the technology too, because with my profession, I'm immediately wondering, okay, this is an advanced society. We're terraforming a planet. We didn't think about backups. We didn't think about fail safes. We didn't think about alternate site locations where we could have another machine just in case. You know.
Here's another thing, Tinkage. We see the moon. Why didn't they terraform the moon?
Because
like,
Mars.
Seriously. Like, I would honestly believe it if... Because think about it. We're going to a whole nother fucking solar system.
Yeah, but Billy Bob, we lost the technology to go to the moon. We just have the technology to go to Exodus.
Well, evidently they can get to a solar system in like fucking 13 months. The Alpha Centauri, that's the closest solar system to us, like in real life.
Yeah.
Which is like, what is that, 138,000 like light years away? It's insane. And like, I would think you'd terraform the moon at least first.
Yeah, and with comics, sometimes you have to suspend your disbelief, right? It's the cool factor, like we were talking about. But no, I completely agree. There are some inconsistencies here, like the Wardens. I mean, we could really nitpick a lot of things, but the Wardens, what exactly is their purpose? Like, I don't understand what the benefit. I mean, I guess sort of thing.
Exactly, man.
You
it's
know,
like we're not sure what their mission is. What do they do? Okay, they got these cool helmets and they master the animals, but to what end?
Is it like some kind of advanced animal husbandry? What is it?
Yeah, but it would make sense for it to be like, we should have. It shouldn't be Rook, okay? It should be like a Pigman.
Yeah.
Cowman.
And why is Pigman not? Why is he not like have bacon and stuff? You know, he just seems like a guy who'd be all.
But what do they use the animals for? Is like they can build spaceships, meaning they could build robots. They have manufacturers, so most of what they could.
We don't see any robots, so as far as we know, they didn't build robots at all in this universe.
That's right, but you need robots just to create spaceships. Like, you can't make spaceships or any technology in that form without some form of machinery to automate the tasks. So that's a big blind spot in the story as well.
Also, neural network. Where is the internet in all of this? You know, they don't really explain what the neural network is. So anyway, I think we're going to get more. Right. Sometimes when you have a lot of questions like these, many of them are intentional. But like, it just seems like the world building really needs some fleshing out here to me.
Yeah, especially on the technological side, because a lot of things are hinted at, but none of them are developed in any realistic fashion.
And vague is tough to do. You know, sometimes vague works really well. I mean, you look at something like Dark Souls, huge franchise, a lot of vagueness in that series. But I feel like that's something that is kind of the exception to the rule. It's really hard to write vague story and not just have frustrated readers.
So, Frederick, you got more on your list?
Just one that popped up, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, but lack of character interaction. And this might just be an issue 1 problem. It might not even be a problem if we get a payoff later on. I'm just worried that there isn't much character interaction, having this solo guy walking into this abandoned city. He's got his friend Swine, but we learned that he gets killed off by the end of the book. So he's left with no friends that we know of from book 1.
So this isn't in this book, but in Ghost Machine, the dire wolf chick is looking for him.
Okay.
And I do think that's where we're going to get more of his interactions talking with other characters is with her.
Looking forward to that.
Also, you had a complaint about Direwolf. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, and this is in the Ghost Machine character descriptions, which I think is fucking fantastic. The fact that they're bringing back character cards with illustrations and almost stats. You know, there's no, you got the height, the weight. She's a bit skinny though. You know, 128 pounds for 5'10", I believe. But she looks fantastic. She looks great.
All the weight in the breast.
Well, no, she doesn't have big breasts. Like you could see the sides of her chest behind her breasts. But going back to I got to focus here.
About breasts.
Again, she's brought in as this ecology specialist who also happens to be one of the inventors of these animal mind machines. So the whole Neuralink's technology, she has a big hand in it apparently. And I'm like, okay, where's this coming from? Who's this character? Are they just putting in a lot of magical qualities into this character that's...
Yeah.
I'm just a little bit worried on the development of that one. She's a warden, and she's also a scientist developing the technology. Yeah, let's see how that develops.
Yeah, and to I was just saying how sometimes the vagueness is not good. Other times it is. Sometimes you don't want to explain everything. I actually think things are explained a little bit to death in a lot of our modern culture these days. A lot of our modern storytelling. So it's a hard balance, you know. So hopefully when they do explain this, it's not too in depth. Like it just needs that sweet spot, you know. Give me enough, but hide a good bit too. You know, leave a little bit of imagination. Yeah.
You know what? This would all make sense if like the corporation just killed everyone, you know, that left the planet after the planet failed.
Yeah.
Have the warden helmets be like a very sneaky like war thing or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were building it to weaponize it. That
like
would make
military.
more sense.
Yeah,
because like I said, it doesn't really make sense for a bear, or wolf, or snakes.
You look at like drone warfare. I mean, and drones, and just like how drones are becoming more and more part of everyday life. It wouldn't surprise me if they tried to do something similar with, controlling murder of crow, or like a group of warthogs. I don't know what a group of warthogs is called, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Halo.
There's another effect of the masks where the animals are kind of imprinting on the people. So what if you wanted to turn your soldiers more animal-like? You could give them these helmets and get them connected to this animal, and then have them be psychologically trained in a way to take on the instincts of these animals. That could be another plot to explore as well. That's maybe not intended on the surface there.
Yeah, I think to sum up for me, like, there are some frustrations and some things I don't like, but I think a lot of it stems from I want to know more. I want to know more about what's going on in this world, and I think that's the biggest thing for me is too many questions at the end of the book. I want a few questions, but I feel like there's just too many. So I'm going to keep reading, but I think for some people that might, how many books am I going to read before I finally have an understanding of what's going on? You know.
So I think that's going to be it for our negatives on this. Rooks Exodus #1. Now to go into our conclusion. Alrighty, now we're at the conclusion, and we're going to have Frederick Gaumont start us off.
Yeah, so this is I think what's very telling about the conclusion of overall my impressions of this book is that everything about the premise, the story, are things that I dislike. They're not things that I'm attracted to, but despite all that, I'm so much into the art. I'm digging the character, and I'm like hooked on the colors and the story. the way it's developing, at least. So, yeah, mostly the characters more than the premise and the story. But like, despite all the things that would normally push me away from this IP, it's the execution is so over the top. They're putting so much love into the production, like from the cardstock cover, the quality of the pages, the added bonus material in the back. It just feels like they really love their project and they're putting the best foot forward. So what's not to love about this?
All right. Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and start with the book itself. Like I was saying earlier, was it $3.99 US? Nice cardstock cover. What is it? Over 30 pages, Frederick, I think.
I think it's right around 40 something.
40
something.
40. I mean, so you're getting a nice chunky book here. It's got fantastic artwork. The setting is pretty cool. I feel like a lot of the setting and the story it doesn't quite know what it wants to be. On one hand, it feels like a post-apocalyptic kind of vibe, and then on the other, there's just some other things going on here that we're not really sure about. Really cool. I guess what I would say is there's really cool ideas. The execution is pretty good, but there's, like I was saying earlier, I just have a lot of questions, and I'd love to see them answered later on, which is a good way to get people to read. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what this develops into. But I do see some potential that it could be kind of vanilla down the line. But as far as what the team is putting into this book, the artwork is phenomenal. And I look forward to seeing what they do with the rest.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same thing as you, Tinkage and Frederick. I do hope later down the line we get interesting payoffs or twists, because I do think like the climate change shit and the kind of corporation, if you don't have any interesting later down the line, it's just very boring, basic, and generic. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like almost like a play on Total Recall, or something.
Right. It feels like Aliens trilogy.
Yeah.
Even the design of the spaceships is like those angular spaceships from Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm disappointed when I see that, and the fact that they fill the sky kind of like Rise of Skywalker. Those are not. They should be highlights of the story. Instead, I'm kind of like, oh no, where's this going?
But
yeah,
I do think the art is really well done. The coloring is really well done as well.
Outstanding. The coloring, I think, is fantastic.
I think the writing, for the most part, like with the main character, is done pretty well.
Yeah.
Nothing too standoutish, but
yeah, and in order to, I feel like in order to break common tropes or common, like you mentioned, Alien, Frederick, and some of these other archetypes we've seen before, and no pun intended, but it's kind of like escaping gravity. Like you have to take risks, to really do something new, and I feel like that's sort of what they're trying to do, and they're running into some roadblocks. They've got some habits in here, from other stories, and maybe that's why it kind of feels like a little directionless at times. But generally speaking, I think this is one of the better comics in the mainstream market right now. Definitely.
And the Warden stuff is cool, even though kind of doesn't make sense. So
yeah.
Very cool concept. I actually really like it.
Dragon Ball Z doesn't make sense either, but it's still Dragon Ball Z, right? And that's the balance. And if you're trying to do something different, you want to pull people into something they're familiar with, but then you want to kind of give them the new stuff at the same time. And it just feels like, to me, that's what this book is. It just hasn't really found its footing yet,
I'm getting a lot of mixture between the Man with No Name, the Clint Eastwood cowboy, and Power Rangers. It feels that, he's entering this abandoned city, but it's a futuristic metropolis that's abandoned. Mm-hmm. And the Wardens are kind of like the cowboys in this empty wasteland, but they're like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers with animal helmets and all that. So I like the style. I like that aspect a whole lot.
Yeah, and any of the viewers out there that are fans of Animorphs when they were kids will probably dig this, because there's definitely that animal instinct takes over kind of thing going on there, which that's always fun to kind of explore, you know.
I do also hope they go more Fallout-ish with the mutations on these monsters on this planet while it's dying, because they're actually growing humongous and mutating, you know, from their original what they're supposed to be. These Earth creatures.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about the guy at the end. What's his name? Ursaw? Yeah, so it looks like Swine's helmet is still together at the end, so that makes you wonder where that's going to go. So, it's a good cliffhanger.
He's dead. He's 100% dead.
Yeah,
but on the last page, we're introduced to this big baddie who's another one of the wardens who seems to be controlling the bears. That's a fucking good villain.
Right.
His name is...
Warsaw or something?
Ursaw.
Yeah, Ursaw.
URSAW.
Yeah.
He's big giant bear man. Hold up. Oh my god. I didn't think about this. He's gonna put on the pig mask and he's gonna become man bear pig.
That's what I was saying.
Half man, half bear, half pig.
The swine helmet's still there. It's still in one piece, so you could definitely wear it.
This could be the coolest comic ever made.
Oh my! You know what would be really cool? I know we're getting a little off topic, but you know what would be really cool? You know how he has like an animal skull for his cod piece?
Mm-hmm.
He's just gonna put he's gonna remove the skull and put Swine's head up there. But anyways, back on topic. I just had to make the joke.
Yeah, but this is a great book. I think if it sounds interesting to you at all, you should definitely pick it up. And like Frederick was saying, you can tell these guys are having fun, and I think we overlook the fun part a lot. Like that's a really important thing to have. Like you can have the best story in the world, best art in the world, but if you're not having fun, the hell's the point? You know, like you gotta have a good time when you're making it. And there's definitely some love in the artwork here. And hopefully we'll see the story evolve a little more. Characters too.
I know they're having a lot of success. When you see the book going into 4th, 5th printing, people are ordering this one. They keep ordering. So the new issues are popping out and people are like, well, I need to get the first part of this story. I need to get the missing parts of the story. And I think, I got a lot of hope for this one. Again, it could go somewhere still. It's always a possibility, but there's a lot to look forward to despite all the flaws that we mentioned.
Yeah, that's what comics need too. I mean, we could, without getting too deep into that, I think that success and keeping things fun and so that you can keep the reader interested is really important. So
definitely doing something right.
Yeah.
It's just freaking awesome, man. He's got a unique style that seems to be kind of the classical end, classical panel structures. It's not apparently dynamic, but it always feels dynamic. He's doing something unique of his own that's bringing his own strengths forward, and he doesn't seem to be copying anybody out. And I really like that aspect of it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, we were saying earlier, you could nitpick anything. You could nitpick any story to death, all thoughts considered. I think that if you're interested, definitely check it out. And this Ghost Machine line is very promising. I think that this is what comics needs right now. Obviously we have a lot, we're all involved in the indie space, and but it's good to see that there's still people out there with experience that are trying to make good stories, so yeah, that's kind of my final thoughts there.
All righty. Well, it's time to wrap this up. I am Billy Bobsack. Here's Tenkage.
Till next time,
Frederick
on Dragon Ball Z.
From Quebec, Canada, beyond the ice wall, I'm Frederick Emo. Thanks for tuning in. And this has been my opinion on Rook Exodus.
And we bid you adieu.
Check it out.
That's right. Read it.